The turn of the new year is a great time to consider your saving and investing strategy. However, we can appreciate that making financial decisions can be intimidating, and every investor's financial situation is unique. Remember that we are seeking progress, not perfection. As you listen to this brief video, consider where you are today and identify one or two actionable items to help you make progress in 2025. Question one. What are your financial goals? In many ways, this is the most important step in the financial planning process. After all, how can we identify a saving and investing strategy without first identifying what you're rooting for? Said another way, a goal without a plan is simply a wish. Many investors face multiple financial goals and therefore competing priorities. Make a list of the goals you're saving for. Depending on your life stage, they may include building up your operating or cash reserves, paying down debt, saving for a child's college education, or the likely most expensive goal of all, retirement. Next, consider the time horizon. Is this a short or long-term goal? And consider how much it will cost. Your answer to this question will evolve over time, so it's wise to revisit your financial plan at least annually. Question number two, what does your cash flow look like? Many people think their money problems would go away if simply they made more money. However, it's not how much money you make, but ultimately how much money you keep that informs your financial strength. Whether you make minimum wage or hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's important to understand your household budget. For many, the word budget means restricting your spending. Let's challenge that mentality. I would suggest that you view your budget as a permission slip to spend on the expenses that you deem important. Ultimately, budgeting is all about balancing trade offs and identifying what is important to you personally. By saving more today, you give yourself the financial flexibility to spend more in the future. First, you should take inventory of your income sources, such as wages and investment income, versus your expenses. Separate your expenses into essentials or fixed costs, such as your mortgage and car payments, your utility bills. Your lifestyle or variable expenses may include groceries, eating out, vacations. Consider also those clumpy expenses, having to replace an appliance, maintaining your car. It seems to be at least something that happens on an annual basis. The difference between your income and your expense is your savings. As the saying goes, you can't manage what you can't measure. To understand your cash flow, set targets for spending, perhaps separating your income into buckets. 50% to cover your needs and essential expenses, 30% to cover your wants, and 20% for savings to the goals identified in step one. However, remember, we are looking for progress, not perfection. If you're saving only 5% today, challenge yourself to get closer to 10%. If you're living paycheck to paycheck with outstanding debt, create a strategy to pay down that debt because this is another form of savings. Regardless of your income level, the ability to vary your spending is a key financial lever. By reducing your fixed expenses, you have the flexibility to cover discretionary expenses as you see fit, perhaps even spending more when your portfolio is doing well and spending less or avoiding selling from your portfolio during market weakness. Good savings habits do not come naturally, so we need to start early and make stashing money away as painless as possible. Have the self control to delay gratification and stick to a savings goal as opposed to a spending need. Your future self will certainly thank you. We encourage investors to consider their next right financial decision. Here is a hierarchy of options for where the next dollar might go. If you don't have a cash reserve to cover those clumpy or emergency expenses, set a target of 3 to 6 months living expenses to keep in cash. If you're not currently taking full advantage of your employer's retirement or health savings account match, make that your next place to save to maximize those free dollars. Then consider ways to pay down expensive debt. I'm thinking credit card debt or loans with high interest rates. Next, consider increasing or perhaps even maxing out your contributions to a 401k or 403b plan or increasing other taxable accounts. Every individual has a different financial situation, so please reach out to your financial advisory team if you'd like to discuss your personal circumstances. If you have access to a savings plan through your employer, you'll likely have a choice between saving via traditional pre tax dollars and Roth dollars. Make your choice a deliberate decision, considering your time horizon, tax situation, and progress to goals. Generally speaking, if you anticipate being in a higher tax bracket in retirement, you may want to save through the Roth. You see, Roth contributions are made on an after tax basis today and grow tax exempt if used for qualified circumstances. Contrast that with pre tax contributions, where you receive a tax deduction for contributions today up to IRS limits. However, the assets grow tax deferred. When you take a distribution in retirement, you will be taxed at your then ordinary income tax rate. I find that again, your life stage may inform your choice of how to save. Younger investors who expect their income to grow over their careers may choose the Roth today. Similarly, investors who do not expect to spend all of their retirement assets during their lifetimes, perhaps leaving money to their heirs, may choose to add Roth dollars. This is because as of today, there is no required minimum distribution, which could potentially extend the time period for tax advantage growth. The last question to consider is your investment strategy. It may be tempting to skip the first few steps in the financial planning process and jump right to investment selection. But remember that investments are simply a tool to help you grow your portfolio. Without a clear vision of your financial goals and your cash flow, it is impossible to identify an appropriate investment strategy. The best investors give their portfolios the opportunity to compound throughout both strong and weak markets, and this requires patience and persistence. Your investment strategy should be informed by two factors: your time horizon and your risk tolerance. First, let's consider, as I mentioned before, why are you investing? Short-term goals like paying down debt or increasing an emergency fund should be invested more conservatively than longer-term goals such as retirement. Ultimately, the longer the time horizon, the greater your ability to take on risk. This is important because the investments with the higher potential for return usually come with the higher potential for volatility or risk. In addition to your time horizon, you should consider your personal risk tolerance. What is your ability and willingness to take on risk? If you're not exactly sure, not to worry. There are tools and resources available to you to help you identify your risk tolerance and determine an investment strategy. As we look at this slide, cash equivalents, which is on the left-hand side, have the lowest risk along with the lowest potential return. Then come bonds within moderate amount of risk and return. And then the highest risk along with the highest potential return are stocks. The split among stocks, bonds, and cash is known as your asset allocation. Your asset allocation is the primary determinant of your return over time, so it's very important to choose wisely. Bear markets can be a challenge for overinvested retirees who are perhaps overallocated to stocks, but can be a gift for young savers. So it's important to monitor your target asset allocation over your investing career. Thanks to market strength, over the past couple of years, your portfolio may be more heavily weighted towards stock or growth assets than you originally intended. Compare your current to your target asset allocation to determine if rebalancing is required. The good news is that there is support to rebalance your portfolio, either through a financial advisor or tools available in your employer-sponsored savings plan. Let's recap the 5 questions we addressed. What are my financial goals? What is my cash flow? Where should my next dollar go? How should I save? And what is my investment strategy? I asked you to identify 1 or 2 actionable steps to make progress on your personal financial journey. Here are some potential ideas for your consideration. I challenge you to choose 1 for the first quarter of this year. You could commit to track household spending for a month. You could identify a household budget for future expenses. Perhaps set aside money as operating cash for those clumpy expenses we discussed. You could educate yourself on the benefits offered through your employer. You could look to maximize, if you're not doing this already, the employer match through your retirement plan. Maybe try increasing your savings by 1 or 2%, taking a portion of a potential raise and allocating it to save and invest in your future. You could take a risk tolerance assessment, which would help on the investment discussion piece. This could help you identify a target mix among stocks, bonds, and cash. You could set up automatic rebalancing. Perhaps review your estate plan and take a look at what your current beneficiaries are. If you currently have debt, identify what you're spending in interest and come up with a strategy to pay that down. Any item here would help you make progress on your personal financial journey. After you have tackled that one goal, come back to the list, choose another one. I like to encourage investors to spend as much time planning for your financial future each year as you do planning your vacation. The Mahoney Group of Raymond James is your retirement plan advisory team. Working alongside your employer, we have a mutual goal of offering you and your families a competitive plan that is meaningful in making progress towards your financial goals. We regularly meet with the retirement committee to evaluate the plan, including the provider, the available tools, and the investments. Additionally, we are a resource to you and your colleagues for education and support, and we encourage you to take advantage of this very important benefit. Please reach out if you have any questions. As we begin 2025, consider how you will improve your financial health and build sound financial habits. Remember, we're here to help.